It's the Yoba series.
Step 7. How a bad trait can turn into a good outcome. So as I touched on before, the relationship that I had with my dad, especially as I was growing up into an adult, certainly didn't give me an idea of who I wanted to be or who I was going to be, and very much made me inwardly reflect on his issues, which then became my issues. And I feel they kind of put a big pause on my life for a certain amount of time. And also that being in a single parent household, that parent is going to have, their own ideas about how you're going to live your life and the things that they want for you. And sometimes, and this especially is true for me in my case, those expectations can sometimes be a lack. And how they can lack is the fact that they manifest into a fear that they don't want you to make any mistakes. They don't want you to make any trips, any falls, they just don't want you to fail. But actually, that's the furthest thing from the truth. If I'm completely honest with you, the best thing that you can do is to get yourself out there, especially when you're young, because you haven't got the worries of big financial burdens such as a mortgage and energy bills and, food bills and things of that nature. Actually, it's the best time to make mistakes because you're young and you're not invincible, but you probably think that you're pretty much invincible, and you are the furthest away from thinking about death. You're 19, 20, 21, you're in your mid-20s or in your early 30s. You definitely are not thinking about, the end of life. You're thinking about the beginning of life, hopefully. And with that, there is no better time to make mistakes. There is no better time to fail. And from my experience, the more times you fail, the more times you make mistakes, the only thing it does is it makes you so much better at resolving issues, problems, mistakes quicker. That's basically all it does. You become a problem solver, if you like. You're probably even someone that people would turn to be able to resolve a problem that they're having because you're so good at resolving those problems because you've resolved so many of your own, because you've thrown yourself into the deep end. And I've met many, many people along the way who would never do that. But they're still kind of in the same situation now, like they're still in the same financial situation, they're still in the same life situation, relationship situation. And it's a bit like you haven't learned. You haven't learned the lesson. And I feel a little bit like life keeps giving you the lesson so that you learn it and move on. But a lot of the times people will see the lesson, but they'll say, the lesson is a mistake or it's a failure or I'm going to trip up. And they won't take that plunge. They won't make that mistake and they never quite learn it. And because they don't learn it, they don't move forward. And if they don't move forward, they don't progress. And, there are less and less opportunities for that particular individual. For me, now reflecting back, life is absolutely amazing. And I don't mean that as in all my life is amazing and I've got a Lamborghini and, I live in a huge house. There's none of that. I have a very average life. What I mean is that life is really beautiful. It's really precious. And, it is a shame to some degree, but it's only here for us, as individuals, for a short amount of time. And that's what I mean when I say about the asset of time is that, the more of it is wasted, the greater the shame it is. And that's where I probably feel now when I look back at my relationship, which is very distant, unfortunately, with my father. And he still continues to have major issues with alcohol abuse and alcohol consumption, that he's wasted so much time. There's a lot of life that has been wasted, and he'll never get it back. And that's the thing that I kind of probably really want to pass on to you guys in this video, is that don't waste your time on things that aren't going to become opportunities for you, or possibly opportunities to invest in other people, in money, in opportunities. And those are the things, in my opinion, that make life beautiful. You create more memories, you create more better frequencies, you have better vibes, you're someone who's more positive, you're someone that people want to surround. They want to surround themselves with people like you, because you're someone who sees the beauty in what you do, the craft, or the job that you do, or the person that you are, the person that people feel that they can talk to. And yeah, just the main thing is that you should enjoy the journey, enjoy the adventure that life has to offer, and try not to fight it. Just try and accept it for what it is. Navigate your way through the difficult spots, and bask in the times where life can be really eventful and really joyous. If there's one massive piece of advice, other than talking about the assets of time and the assets of finding your identity or self-identity, is that you should always reflect. And that's how I was able to deal with anger. I dealt with my anger by reflecting upon it. I reflected deeply on what I had done in the past, why I felt that way, and why I chose to act in that way. And by reflecting upon it, I sort of felt like, yeah, that probably wasn't the best thing to have done at the time, but I'm not going to do that again, because the result was not what I wanted. And in that respect, or in my opinion, that is a fantastic opportunity to learn. Life is always going to teach you. That's what I've found anyway, that life is always going to be a giver of a lesson. And I feel that as long as you reflect, you'll always want to learn. As long as you reflect on the positives, you can reflect on the day. You can reflect on a good week that you've had. You can reflect on a bad situation that happened. And sometimes, granted, things are a lot more difficult to get over than others, and they take more time, which is why time is such a fantastic asset. However, when you do reflect, I think that because you're reflecting on either a positive or negative situation, you're trying to find the lesson there. And because you're more versed in finding lessons, you then become more hungry to want to learn more. And that can be anything from knowledge to finding out more about, people's lives, to finding more about stories, things that interest you, history, finances, in way to make investments in all sorts of different walks of life, not necessarily just money. But yeah, that's probably the way that I dealt with my anger, is that I learned to reflect, and I learned to talk about the issues that I had with anger and my temper.
It's the Yo Bossy Weeks.